Welcome to Folks Garage. Anders here. Today we're going to work on the Fiero as well. Unfortunately, I missed the first video of me in the garage explaining what we're going to do that day. So here I am in the future explaining to you guys what you guys are going to see in this episode. So one good thing about this is I already know what you guys are going to see, so you guys are not surprised. But we're going to work on the shifter cable, and we're going to work on the cage and also the battery box. So the shifter cables we got from Fiero store, they're not drilled out perfectly for the pins, so we just need to drill them out, make sure they fit. Next thing we're going to do is the battery box. Just quick welds the battery box at the front of the car rather than have it in the back. Huge plane passing by. Anyway, and then next thing is trying to fix this cage. So we just thought that the cage needed some 360 welds around the upper corners. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So the previous owner, when they were building the cage, they were too lazy, and rather than doing one plate, they just did two plates. You're supposed to cut the floor, drop the cage, and then just weld a plate, pull it up, and weld the plate to the body. It's just roughly, that's how you're supposed to do. But they didn't do that. They just put two plates next to each other and just weld it. That's not going to fly when you go through the tech at the Lemons. They're going to just mark this car unsafe, and we're not going to be able to race. So rather than finding out if that's the case, we're just going to go ahead and fix it to the rules, according to the rule book, and then be done with it. It still needs some door bars and also the rooftop bar. Rooftop is optional, but we're going to do it for safety. And the door bars are mandatory, so we're going to add those as well later on, not in this episode. This episode is just watching Brad do his thing and complain about it a little bit, watch his welds and stuff. So without further ado, let's go to Brad's garage and watch him do some stuff.
Oh yeah, they did some great, not just hammering back in. Yeah, they did some really great work.
Oh, perfect.
Let's make it fit.
That needs to be done as well.
Yeah, this one was like 0.24. It's a little bit more of a fiber. Index bits. That's the one we really don't want to slop in. A little bit.
What we are doing here is we're just machining it, drilling it out a little bit to make it fit perfectly. These came from Fiero store, and they are slightly undersized. Oversized, undersized?
Undersized. Which is the right thing to do. I mean, if you had a bushing in one of these things, C's, then your pins here would be undersized, and you would actually get clunking when you're shifting.
So yeah, so we're just making them fit in our application here. So this should work.
Ready? Yeah, brass bushings are cool. Really close. Nice. Come on, get in there. God damn, is this thing fucking dirty or what? It's like really close. Nice. Just a little bit more. I'm gonna see big ass chips flipping off.
So this is the patch panel that we welded here where we cut it to get the tool in there. And this is the 360 weld, and the correct way of doing it is like putting a big plate here and welding it all together. So you can't really see the welds in the back, but we did do it. This panel wasn't there, and then we just welded here. So, and then coming over here, the guy didn't weld much here either, so we got these welds here. So next thing we're doing is we're doing the same thing on the front footing. So we're just putting this big plate, spreader plate, oops, like this, so we can get 360 welds there, and then we'll just weld it to the chassis later on, and that would be done. And we're gonna do it on the other side as well, and then do that and do this, and we'll be done with the cage. It will be all strong and ready to race. He is doing some work. Contact.
Perfect.
So we're done with the welds that we needed to do to fix the cage, and we do need to put a gurney
bar and
gurney
a door
bar
bar
and a door bar to comply with the regulations for this cage. Gurney bar is not much needed, but
It's not
the door bar is
Yeah.
required, so we need to do that.
The gurney bar just gives us a little bit more height. Since Andre and I are so tall, it's really not a problem. But if anybody else tries to drive this car that isn't,
Anyone taller than 6 foot,
yeah,
they might have a problem.
anyone's 6 foot even.
Yeah, so we're done with today's work. Oh, we're gonna do one more thing, the battery box, and then we'll be done. But we kind of figure out a lot of things. The cooling is figured out. I was working with the wiring harness, figuring out what wire is for the tack, because we want to use the tack for the from the Fiero.
Because it's a sweet racing tack
Yeah,
with red line at vertical.
vertical. So we want to use that. And other than that, we can get rid of all the other unnecessary wires, and we can finish up the wiring. Well, we just need to place the ECU. And
From there, everything through the gray plug on the T5, there's a lot of outputs that we can use. We just have to decide which ones we're going to use in the Saab gauge cluster versus what we want to use from the Fiero gauge cluster, which should just be the tack. The fuel gauge is separate on these. They can have like a driver information center off to the right for fuel. And then they have I think the temperature is over there as well.
the temperature that you're talking about, the Saab temperature or the Fiero?
The Fiero has
Yeah.
the fuel and the engine temperature. The Saab also has a DIC, and it gives a bunch of really fun messages. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to use it because
Maybe not for the first race.
it connects to a lot of the body controller stuff.
Oh, we don't have.
Like, hey, your taillight's out. Like, oh, thanks, that's so helpful.
It's gonna be a bunch of warnings saying that, hey, you're out.
You start the car and you might get 50 fucking warnings before you can actually start going. But it does have some useful ones like, hey, there's no coolant. You should check that.
Check. But we're gonna have a coolant warning light when we blow out the coolant hose. So these are the things we still need to do. The fuel tank and lines, we just need to. The fuel tank is in. We just need to plug in the vent line.
Yeah, now that we're done welding, that should be a little bit easier. We need to do a little bit of research. I'm not 100% sure on those. On the stock car, I think it just has to go like above the fuel tank and then below the fuel tank, so that in a case of a rollover, it doesn't just spit fuel everywhere.
Yeah. So the engine harness, we all labeled up. So that's done. We just need to place the ECU, gauges, battery mount. We're going to do the battery mount. And the cooling hoses, expansion tank. So all these are figured out. We're just missing a couple of parts we need to get. Clutch line needs to be done. We have the line. We just need to lift the car up.
Yep.
And the shifter cables are done. Exhaust needs to be buttoned up. We just need to put the muffler in it, and then it was tack welded, so we just need to.
So when we did that before, we just tack welded it. Since then, I have actually purchased a pipe expander.
Oh.
So instead of doing butt welds on thin sheet metal, which is not fun, we can get a little bit of overlap, and it makes it easier to weld it. Gives it a little more material.
So the brakes are going to be next. Intercooler, oil cooler, paint. We're going to paint the cage interior, the cage interior, engine and subframe needs to be painted. So we can do this when we take the engine subframe out.
Yeah.
And when we take the subframe out, we have a subframe out procedure right here for the bushings and all that stuff. So we are very. I mean, the car starts, and technically we could let it run once we get the hoses in. We're almost there.
It's getting close. The devil will be in the details with a lot of this stuff. Each one of these things is a lot of time.
Yeah.
But they're easy to do, but it's a lot of time. So like,
I mean, I would say every single one of these is a day.
yeah.
So once we put the battery mount, we're gonna run the battery cable to the engine and then ground the. So that's gonna take. Once we get the battery mounts in, we could just do that stuff with the clutch line and stuff. Yeah, we're getting there. Slowly but steady, we're getting there.
Yeah. And now that we have all this stuff welded in, we could run that battery cable and not have to. Well, we're gonna paint the interior first.
Yeah.
Order of operations here. So a nice clean white interior that we're gonna get dirty several times, but it'll be easy to clean, easy to see everything after we clean it. So
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna close off today. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, like I said, I will leave Brad's personal phone number and you can reach him. And you can text him whatever you want, images, messages, whatever. But if you haven't subscribed, please do so. This helped Brad push forward. I don't know why, but it helps him. Thanks for watching.